thank you all for coming out. Again, there's plenty of seats over on this side if you guys are looking for some seats in the back. Thank you all for coming out. Again, my name is Devin Dillon. This is Springfield 1 Million Cups. How many people are here for the first time? First timers? Awesome. Woo! Yeah, thanks for coming. How many people here would consider themselves entrepreneurs or own a business? Okay, about half. Yeah, who's bringing the juice today? I like it. Chris, nice blazer, man. Looking sharp. Well, without further ado, we got two awesome speakers, same presentations, same format as always. We're going to do 6 to 8 minutes of Q&A, or 6 to 8 minutes of a presentation and then Q&A. Look for myself and Sterling on the side. We'll be walking around with the mics. Please bring your questions and your comments. And you got something, Joel? We're good? Okay. A little shout out to Haley Huff. It was her sweet 16th birthday last week, so give her a round of applause. That's Sterling's daughter. That's cute. And without further ado, our first presenter is John Martinez with DaZZee.
Hello. Well, I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'll just jump right into it. I'm John Martinez with DaZZee Integrations. Worry, frustration, and anger. These are some feelings that we're all familiar with. I'm very familiar with them. In fact, I associate these three feelings with public speaking. As a child, I spent 10 years in pretty intensive speech therapy. So no one could understand me, teachers, parents, my siblings. So I was just afraid to talk. In school, I was afraid I'd get called on. If I did get called on, I'd get very frustrated because I just couldn't get my message out. And eventually I was angry. I was angry at myself just for not being able to do what everyone else could. I bring that up just to let you know I'm very familiar with these feelings, these emotions. And I see them every single day in the normal course of what I do. Except the faces don't look like this. They look more like this and this. And that. One thing that everyone I talk to has in common is this. They are small business owners, and they manage some part or all of a pretty complex technical environment. They have problems with computers shutting down. They're worried about security breaches, losing data, what happens if someone compromises or even takes hostage my data. They have old equipment, and to replace it is very, very expensive. So they're all worried about what to do next, what might happen. They're frustrated with the same problems over and over. So we're DaZZee Integrations. What we do is we turn this into this. Simply enough, we take away the worry, the anger, the frustration that goes with managing IT. Or we take a very harsh, complex world and we turn it into a world of, fairies and unicorns and rainbows. So as simple as it gets right there. Brief history of DaZZee. Well, I know we're talking about startups. We're actually 15 years old. This is brand new to us, though. It's as if we're starting all over again. We started 15 years ago as an internet service provider in Branson. Very quickly, our entire infrastructure failed, and we had to rebuild it from the ground up. We learned a lot while doing this. In fact, other companies asked us to do the same for them. So it wasn't long before we sold off the internet portion and became DaZZee Integrations and started building core network infrastructure. We do this for healthcare facilities, banks, we build data centers, large and small businesses all over Southwest Missouri and Northwest Arkansas. It didn't take long before they asked us to kind of expand. Everyone we did business with said, well, can you take a look at our computers? Can you take a look at our virus protection? And eventually, hey, can you go ahead and manage it? So for a few key customers, every once in a while, we'd write up some kind of one-off contract and agree to just manage their whole IT environment. Last year, DaZZee brought me on board and decided, hey, we're going to grow. And the first decision we made is to completely turn our business model upside down. No longer in the core network business, we're in the managed service business now. So how has our past prepared us for this new challenge? Well, for one thing, the structure of our company. It's all engineers. The core, the ownership, everyone, engineers. Our competition, they have a few engineers at the core of a company. However, they're mainly staffed with kind of frontline help desk technicians. So when you call with an IT problem, they pick up the phone very quickly. If they can't solve it, it eventually goes up the line to an engineer. So just the way our company is built, with the engineers being on the front lines, is very different. It plays right into our strategy. We build our customers' networks so they don't fail. What that means is they don't need to call in all the time. We don't need a huge front line of help desk support because there's just no help desk tickets, or at least not too often. Quality versus quantity of accounts. We're not out there to make everyone our customer. We're looking for quality accounts. We're looking for businesses with the same visions, goals, and beliefs that we have. So we've actually limited the amount of seats that we take on each month in regard to our IT service. So we have to be a little choosy about who comes on board. They have to allow us to do what we need to do to deliver a predictable result each time. Expertise, well, we're the IT company's IT company. What I mean by that is there's a lot of IT companies in town. When they break, they call our engineers in to fix it. We offer 3 products. One's completely free, myitquestions.com. Any small business owner can hop on, ask the same engineers or technicians that most people pay for, any question, ask for guidance, and we give it. The other 2 products are managed services or outsourced IT, both flat monthly fee. One includes the entire core network hardware and one does not. Well, the startup experience. Biggest hurdle is scaling. Since our whole business is based around very technical, educated engineers, it's hard to find a lot of good ones and bring them into the company. So that's been our biggest challenge so far. Aha moments, hardware as a service. The biggest barrier to entry for a company to do business with us was we had to have the infrastructure in place. We knew how important that was. It could cost tens of thousands of dollars to put that infrastructure in place. We simply started providing it for our customers. Giving away money isn't as easy as you think. Well, our engineers are very good. They typically charge $156 an hour. We give this away with myitquestions.com, all their advice and years of expertise, but it didn't take off as quickly as we thought it would. It's growing, more people are registering, but I just thought people would jump on board to take advantage of this resource, and even that has to be marketed. Making cake. We learned that in order to market this, we really had to sell the results, not what we do, not the processes behind the results. What I mean by that is you and I could both go to the grocery store, buy sugar, flour, milk, eggs, whatever you need to make a cake. I have no cake making experience. I could go home, you can go home, use your grandmother's recipe. You both use the exact same ingredients, except you put them together in different ways. Mine comes out as a blob, yours comes out as a beautiful cake. What this means is, even though some of our competition uses the same hardware, some of the same techniques, that doesn't matter. What makes us different are the processes behind it. That's what makes our cake taste so good, in other words. What can you do to help? Well, tell your friends, spread the word. Free IT help, we'll do anything you need except come on site and do physical labor with myitquestions.com. And as I said, our biggest challenge is finding qualified engineers. So if you know anyone looking for work or a change, give us a call. And that concludes our presentation.
All right, so we'll go ahead and open it up for Q&A. John, my first question is, so you said that your cake making skills, it's all about your processes, right? So what's unique about your processes that make your cake so much different than everybody else's?
Well, what we do is we kind of have what's called the DaZZee way. It's about 20 best practices, each with hundreds of line items of the best way to do things, from disaster recovery to building a network. We bring all of our customers into that bubble, into the DaZZee way. That allows us to always give predictable results. Everything's well documented. No matter which technician or engineer jumps on an account, they don't have to do a lot of work to find out how it was built and what might be wrong. It's all the same. We use the same best practices. So, number one, things don't break down as often. And when they do, resolution is very quick and easy.
You talked about that your biggest hurdle was scaling and finding new engineers to come on board and work for you. What's been your most effective method to find new engineers?
Well, we just look for the unhappy ones, really. You know, there's a lot of competition for good engineers. There's a lot of good tech companies in town here. Jack Henry, J Mark, our main competition, we're all going after the same pool of engineers. DaZZee's a small family-owned company, so we offer a lot of things that the corporate environment doesn't. So that's what we're looking for, is just engineers that fit our culture.
You mentioned using the website, for answering IT questions. I was curious about the reach of your business, as far as you have the website, which can reach really anywhere in the country, even the world, but what about your actual physical service? Are you limited to your reach?
Right now, geographically speaking, we service Southwest Missouri and Northwest Arkansas. We do have customers as far south as the Keys and Louisiana, as far north as Canada. But the bulk of our business is local, because sometimes the type of work we do does actually require us to hop in a car, go to our customer site, and plug something in. Not as much as it used to, but still has to be drivable.
Hi. Forgive me, there was a slide up there with I think it was a caveman, and that's what I believe I am when it comes to IT. So this question may be equally as backward or whatever. But you mentioned a couple of your competitors, JMark was one, and I guess there's a number of others in town. If there was one thing that you actually do and they don't, could you sort of explain that? Because I get very confused between what IT companies do what, if you see what I mean.
Sure. Again, we all do the same thing. We all manage IT environments. The one thing that makes DaZZee different is our makeup. Being built completely out of engineers, the first thing we do is we go in, we take a network, and we build it the correct way to begin with. A lot of our competition, some of them do it, but most of them just go in and say, here's the equipment you have. We know it's residential grade. We know it's going to fail. We're just going to do the best that we can. That's another reason why we have to kind of be choosy about who we bring on board. We know what's required to provide those predictable results. So the company has to be willing to go through that process. And we do provide the hardware. A lot of times that is, could be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade a core network. We provide a lot of Cisco gear, Meraki gear, top gear in the industry to our customers.
On your IT questions, I think twofold I think is a good idea, but two, one, looking at it from the aspect of a lawyer, giving away that information and giving that advice, you now take ownership of that problem. Is that something you guys have thought about when doing this way? And the second question I have for that, was this more from a marketing perspective or more from an aspect of being training or both?
A lot of questions in there. First question is absolutely not. We did not think of it from an attorney's perspective. We have one on staff, and I'm sure he's gone through some of this with a fine-tooth comb. The next part of the question was marketing or what really is the purpose of the website. Part of it is marketing. A lot of these small companies that need help right now will turn into big companies, and they will know us, and a lot of them will turn to us as they grow for help. But what we typically do each year is we do some type of give back to a charity. We'll give away hardware. We'll do a project. This year, as we sat down and decided what are we going to do for the community, well, we just had a year under our belts of visiting a couple hundred businesses, and they all had these problems. And they said, hey, great, but I can't afford managed services. I can't afford the equipment. I can't afford an IT person at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. So that whole group of small businesses were kind of left out in the cold. So we said the best way for us to give back is to just give away what we do best.
You mentioned in your presentation hardware as a service, and then in answering his question, you talked about replacing their infrastructure with your own hardware. So is that something you build into your management fee? You guys pay for the equipment up front and then charge the customer over a period of time for that hardware?
There's different models, but basically being an IT company, we have a lot of pull with some different manufacturers because we play so much of their equipment. So we get very, very deep discounts. So it's very inexpensive for us compared to a business to get the equipment. Then usually we just build it into the monthly cost, doesn't increase the monthly cost too much, and at the end of our term, you own the equipment. Or we'll just swap it out and refresh it with all new equipment.
I got here kind of late, but when I heard John talking about cakes, I mean, I know firsthand he makes a very good cake. We work together. John's very, very sharp. The question I have is with your services, you know, with being local, there's always that relationship. Could you briefly describe like the ongoing relationship and the consulting that your company does for the businesses that are your clients?
Sure. You know, one of the hardest things about building a relationship with the client is the one thing that brings you closest to them is usually telling them something they don't want to hear. A lot of people, when trying to build a relationship with another business, you know, they want to just talk about what's good, what will work. We're in a happy place. But sometimes you need a dose of reality. And when we come through and we point out problems before they become big problems, and other issues like that, it's always a very tough conversation, but I think that's what pulls us together, is that type of consulting.
I want to go back briefly to, you described your company's culture as sort of a differentiator between the corporate culture and competing for engineers. What can you describe as some of the more unique aspects of your company's culture?
Well, we all have young children, so it's, you know, everything that's inherent with that. Very open. A lot of us work half the time from home or on the road or wherever we're at. We work either 8, we're usually 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, so it's a shorter work day. Really, we don't even have to request off for doctor's appointments, soccer games, baseball games, all that stuff. It's very open. We're all measured on what we produce, not how many hours we work. We think that's the most effective way, and it's just a culture that you don't see out there in the larger companies.
John, what kind of questions are you getting under my IT questions? Do you have enough data thus far to aggregate what type of questions are coming in, what type of questions you can field and can't field?
Yeah, 2 types of questions. A lot of them are about hardware. Usually when a company is saying, okay, I need to buy a new server. I see one for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. What do I need, and how do I make sure that whatever company I go to just doesn't sell me an expensive server because it's expensive? So a lot of the questions are hardware related. A lot of them are also just very simple. I have a virus, how do I get it off? I can't remember my password, how do I reset it? So from consulting and kind of guiding to just the simplest of questions, you know, we get everything you'd expect. As far as questions we can't answer, there's some disaster recovery stuff and some other stuff that we don't have enough information to give them good advice on. We'd really have to go in and find out more to properly guide them. So in some cases, we have to step back and say, knowing what we know, we're not qualified to answer that.
And so is there any limit on the amount of questions a particular person can ask in a day, week, or month?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. And so you're fielding these questions via text or phone, or how do you do that?
What we do is when you hop on, you put in your name and email address, and we give you credentials to log into a portal. With that portal, you can submit a question. It hits all of our technicians and engineers, cell phones, emails. The same way we distribute tickets to our paying customers. They just don't have a priority of service. And the first one who gets to it. Most qualified person gets to it. So, you know, that's the way it works. You go through a portal. Your information's not posted out there for everyone to see. If you're a small business owner, you probably don't want, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, post it all over the internet.
Do you have an incentive for your employees to answer these questions fast?
No, 0 incentive. Luckily, our crew, you know, we haven't been faced with that as a problem. Like I said, our whole culture, our environment is built so we all take personal responsibility for our piece of the puzzle. We're not measured on how many questions we answered, how many hours we put in. We're just measured on results. So as long as all of the results get taken care of, we're pretty happy.
Are you guys thinking about the process of, and this has sort of already been asked, but are you guys thinking about the process of expanding outside the region And if so, what does that look like for you guys? And how are you able to handle the infrastructure of going from this small startup, re-startup for your business to leveraging that and scaling up for more work, if that's even something you guys are trying to do?
It's in the plans. We will expand, up north towards Joplin, Kansas City, out east towards St. Louis. What we need to do is establish relationships to find smart hands. Most everything now is done online. We can fix 95% of anything. We monitor all of our customers 24/7, 365, so usually before a problem happens, we've already fixed it. But occasionally, like I said, we need to go on site. So to do that, we need somebody with some hands who kind of knows their way around computers. So what we'll do is establish relationships with other regional vendors and contract out technicians and engineers when we need kind of boots on the ground, if you will.
There are a lot of people in here that are software developers. We have a lot of those, and would that be one of your sweet spots, or are you more the hardcore in the manufacturing and that kind of thing area? What's your sweet spot?
Our sweet spot is really any organization with up to about 50 employees. 10 to 50 really. That's because they have enough infrastructure to need help, but they're not big enough to justify the expense of internal IT help. So that's really our sweet spot. As far as industry or vertical goes, we're all over the board. We do see a lot in finance. We do see a lot in healthcare, just because those are so heavily regulated and everyone needs to make sure their systems are locked down. Other than that, we have, PenMac here in town, they're a staffing agency. We have small physicians clinics. We have resorts, track family fun parks, so go-karts and video games, so everything you can think of under the spectrum. Really, we're just looking for that specific employee count.
Awesome. Well, in conclusion, John, as we always ask, again, as a community, what can we do for you?
Well, like I said, get the word out. If anyone needs help, let them know we exist. We've operated this long, 15 years, without really ever having to advertise or market ourselves. So many people are hearing from us for the very first time. Also, if you're an engineer and you're looking for some work and some good hours, give us a call.
Or if we have IT questions, go to
Or if you have IT
myitquestions.com, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. For someone who had trouble speaking, you did a great job. So, hey, some quick announcements. The MATA group meets the second Thursday here in this room. If anyone has any questions, that's the Mid-America Tech Alliance, Sherry Coker. Right, there you go. The real estate investors, if you're interested in investing in real estate, Brad Moncato and Sean, right here. So if you want to see those guys, they meet July 24th at 6 p.m. at Pasta Express. Is Jeremy Adams? Where's Jeremy? There he is. Something new, the Idea Wake Up. That's July 25th. Is that 8:30 a.m. or p.m.? That's a.m., okay. Good. And the hackathon, Brian Kincaid, when did we decide that was going on?
October 18th and 19th, stay tuned. We're still working out details.
There you go. And these announcements are on the board, but you have to read announcements too. So, and the PMI chapter, project management, is meeting, and that is
6 p.m. tomorrow at Kansas Expressway and Valet.
great. Thank you very much. Okay, our next presenter, Alex Scott with Springfield Parking.
How you doing? Thank you. I'm Alex, and I own a Springfield Parking Company. I was also up here a couple months ago with Metro Shine, so you're not, I don't have a twin, just so you know. That we have Springfield Parking Company. Was founded in 2000. And during that time, we had operations in Tampa, Jackson, and St. Louis, Jacksonville, and St. Louis. We had basically off-airport parking. We did rental cars and stuff like that. Until it's about 2004, 2005, and sold the facilities, came to Springfield, changed the name to Springfield Parking. We were the first parking management company to come to Springfield, also the first professional valet company in Springfield. The valet parking operations, that's our bread and butter. We are basically a hospitality company. One of the first things that we tell everybody is we make sure that everything is 100% safe. We've valeted 50,000 plus cars, and we've had 3 incidences. So we are very proud of that. That's a lot of cars, a lot of driving, a lot of employees, a lot of miles, and we're really proud of that safety record. The number one thing that I train our employees is the look. So the look is very important to anybody that comes in. So as our customers, we are the very first impression that our guests, that their guests get, and we try to basically train our employees, strive to have that look. So our motto is your guest's very best first and last impression. We are, the customer service is very important to us. We're a hospitality company that just happens to park cars, but we also do umbrella service if it's raining. We're getting the front doors, we're getting passenger doors, we're getting side doors. We're making people feel comfortable. We're smiling. We're greeting everybody, with a skit. So basically, say if they're going to whatever event, says welcome to, whatever it is. We're making people feel comfortable about us taking their car. The car is, a lot of people, is probably their number 2, number 3 possession. So, it's one of those things that we have to make sure people feel comfortable giving one of our employees their car that they may have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 invested into. So we train our employees to do that. Here's some of our valet parking customers, like Flame Restaurant, Top of the Rock, places like that. We also, I didn't put it up there, sorry, Robert, but Ozarks Entertainment. We do a lot with Ozarks Entertainment, and I'm sure I'll hear about that later. But but we've been around since about 2006, and it's funny, when we first started here, our first customer was Flame, and we had a interesting time with that because people were scared to death of valet parking. I started working with the Battlefield Mall too back in that time, and I had to actually print out flyers explaining what valet parking was, because that was my number one question is, what is valet parking? And I kept thinking to myself, you're kidding, right? So after about 15 questions like that, I decided, well, I better advertise and print that out. So we started with the mall's help. We put some table toppers out and some signs up and down the mall explaining what valet parking was before the 2006 Christmas season, which we helped, with the Battlefield Mall with that. But yeah, I was totally shocked to come to Springfield and find out that a lot of people didn't know what that was. Anyway, we also do parking lot management. We have a lot of the downtown parking. I know that's probably the evil part of our business. Where we charge $5 to park at all of these parking lots. A lot of these parking lots that we have are leased lots. They're owned by individuals who are downtown or near an event space that they say, hey, we want to be able to control the parking, we want to be able to make revenue off of it, and we want to have it to where people feel safe parking there. So, that's kind of what we do. We provide an employee that basically monitors, collects revenue, signage, and all that stuff. We also do, a lot of the lots we have like honor boxes where you would, if somebody's not there, you're still expected to pay. We're still required to try to get people to pay unless they're patrons of that building. So that's where we have coin box systems, and you might have seen that like on Walnut Street. There's a couple of them there, and then envelope systems where you take an envelope, put your money in it, put it in a box, tear the top part, and put it in your dash. So anyway, that's kind of what we have for downtown. We do like the Cardinals for Holiday Inn Express and University Plaza. We have some of the Shrine parking. Discovery has just signed up with us to help them control their lot for Gilloy's and Shrine events. We have, just basically we try to work with downtown owners to help provide, basically extra revenue for them for their parking lots. We also do parking lot enforcement, which is even eviler than charging for parking. So we work with apartment complexes or lofts, especially in the downtown or MSU area, to try to control their parking. One of the biggest problems that they have is that they have these lots next to other, facilities or apartments or, wherever, and they have to save those parking spaces for their tenants. So they provide their tenants permits or whatever, and then all of a sudden their tenants are calling them, 4 or 5 times a week and say, I got no place to park, can't find a place to park, parking lot's full. Come to find out, somebody in the complex has had a party and invited all their friends, and then their friends fill the parking lot up, and there you go. The people who's actually supposed to be parking there can't park. So what we do is we provide permits for those, the tenants. We provide very clear signage, and then we take care of the liability. We take the liability off of the property owner and put it onto us. And we're also, we set the contracts up with the towing companies and stuff. But we're a big benefit to the on-site property managers because that takes about 30% of their time to deal with a parking lot, and we take that off their shoulders. So we're able to, be basically the people who call and get, we get the complaints, we get people yelling at us, because you towed my car and whatever like that. So we take that away from the property managers. So, and then we also, of course, like I said, we have contracts with towing companies, and then we have, towing versus booting. We used to boot all the time, so we basically would have a way to immobilize your car. The nice thing about booting was your car was still there at the end of the night, so when you came out to get your car, you couldn't move it, but it was still there. The city yelled at us and said that we can't do that, we had to tow. So now we tow, so, that's a little bit more inconvenient and more expensive for the violator. But we also do parking lot consulting. We help with, we've done like some of the customers like Expedia and some other people, basically maximize their parking lot. We do comparisons with 60-degree spaces, 90-degree spaces, end caps, how's the best way to do flows for parking areas. Right now we're working with Top of the Rock with their parking lot to help them design a better parking lot for valet operations. And the valet lane utilization. A lot of times, these people, they'll build their buildings or they'll build an event space without really thinking about the parking. They say, okay, well, here's a parking lot, here's a parking lot. That's all you need, just spaces. And when they start getting busy and they start, getting a lot more people there, they realize that maybe they should have put a little more thought behind it. One of the things that we do is when we come in there and say, hey, we want to start valet in here, and they say, yeah, we want you to valet because we need it. All of a sudden, there's no room to actually valet. We're competing with people who's dropping off and picking up. So, in that first process when they're building, and we try to get in there and help them with that so that they can, in the future expansion, they can have a place to do valet. Also worked with some of the hospitals with garage versus parking lot versus operations cost comparisons. So do these really big cost benefit analysis for whatever, for future developments, whether they want to build more parking lots, or they want to build a garage system, or they want to go to a valet system. For the growth part of things, we are, the downtown, we're looking for, basically hoping and helping whatever we can do to bring new attractive venues to bring more people to downtown. So one of the things that would help a downtown area, of course, is like what they're doing now is like I think the Vandervoort building is becoming a hotel, and they're going to open up some new facilities in that. And there's some other things that's cool going on downtown to bring more people. City-owned garages, we have the downtown Springfield owns some garages, like the Hers Garage, College Station garages. We're trying to get those contracts. We've bid it for the last 2 years and haven't won it yet, but hopefully the third time's the charm. But we got to wait 3 or 4 more years for it. Of course, there's also Hayman's Field Garage and stuff like that. That's part of where we plan on growing. And then the old debate between paid and versus free parking. A lot of people here in Springfield, and I understand where they're coming from, is saying, hey, we want to bring free parking downtown because free parking will bring more people down, and they don't have to worry about paying to park, and help us compete with South Side parking and stuff like that. Honestly, I've been around a lot of downtown areas, and none of them that are successful has free parking. So they always have some type of paid parking on the streets, in their facilities, in the garages, in the city-owned garages, and all of it's all paid parking. And usually that money goes back into the same community it comes out of. So that money is usually used for landscaping, for development, for loans, for stuff like that. That parking revenue is used back into that area. And also one thing that I've been noticing about downtown Springfield, it has a ton of free street parking. I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but anyway, about 50 to 60% of the employees who work downtown park in the street. So, and that's taking up spaces for, customers who would like to park in the street that might be willing to pay 50 cents or $1 to a meter and stuff like that to park there. But those spots are gone because the waitresses and waiters and the employees downtown are using those spaces up. And then what they do is there's a 2-hour limit, but what they'll do is they'll go out, run to their car, take it around the block, find another space free on the parking lot, on the street or wherever, and park there. So anyway, one of the things that we're doing for downtown for valet parking is that we're looking at putting a paid valet stand at the corner of Robertson and McDaniel. Robertson and Walnut and McDaniel and South. Those are areas where there's not too many free parking areas. There's not that many parking, but there's a lot of businesses there to provide people front door service, especially for when it rains or it's cold, any negative weather, that people, we can go out there and have a close place, to park and be able to valet. And we have the lots to put them on. Of course, any more restaurants, we do a lot with Flame, Touch, Metropolitan Grill, a couple other restaurants in town, but of course, there's some other restaurants that we would like to get into. Event venues, any event venue. So even if they have good front door parking, still, whenever they're at the end, it's a valet service, I tell people, really brings that class to an event that's really hard to beat for the price. It's not expensive. I mean, you would think it'd be expensive. It's not expensive. It's probably one of the cheaper things that you would get, especially when you're doing a wedding or a big event. It's very, very affordable. Even if there's really close parking, that having that valet there really does kind of speak a lot to the kind of event that you're having. Theaters, hotels, golf courses. One of our things that we've done lately is we've started working with Top of the Rock, the golf course down in Branson, and they're full time. We are there 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. to 11:30 to midnight every day of the week. And so any type of events like that or a place like that, we're trying to get, and also home. We do a lot of places, people's houses. So if they're having a wedding at home or if they're having a party, Christmas party, whatever it is, we do a lot of events at people's houses too. Hospitals, Cox Health systems, basically, we'd like to put together full-time valets. A lot of these other downtowns that I've been into, all their hospitals have valet parking. So trying to convince them, they all have proposals to do valet parking. Branson theaters, I've worked with some Branson theaters, but I'd like to get into maybe some more Branson theaters. Joplin and Rolla, and then enforcement growth, work with other apartment complexes, and then the long-term growth. I'd like to start purchasing small, basically parking companies or start parking companies in tier 3 markets, especially in this area like Little Rock or Joplin or Rolla, Tulsa and stuff like that, and start working in those areas. And basically, kind of that's the end of it. And then some of the things that I'll be asking about you guys is, of course, the marketing thing between push versus pull. We've done a lot of marketing with venues and with restaurants and stuff like that, but not too much with just the general public on explaining what valet parking was. Because that's still the issue. I still had 2 months ago, I had a guy, I was at the University Plaza and we were trying to tell, basically, the parking lot was full. We were saying, hey, we got valet parking, it's right up front. He goes, well, I'm not going to valet park. He says, they wreck your car. And I said, when was your car wrecked? He goes, well, I just know people who has. And I said, well, it wasn't wrecked by me because I know, I said, I know what we've done and what we haven't done. And I said, where did they get wrecked at? He goes, well, I don't know. And come to find out, he saw it in the movies. So I was like, great, that's kind of the thing that we're running up against a little bit. Like I said, full-time hospital valets, then growth outside of Springfield, Branson. So that's it.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and open it up for Q&A, and I'll start by asking, what are your plans for the next 5 years, especially with growth outside of the Springfield region?
Well, what I'd like to do is to, at some point, get into Rolla, Joplin area. I've already started looking into those areas as far as their downtown areas and parking areas. We've also venues down there. We're starting to work with some of the, like we work here in Springfield with McBride a lot to do their bridal shows, and working with some of the bridal companies in those areas. That's a good place to start because that's a good way to kind of get involved and meet all the venues in one place. Yeah.
You talked about growth, and that's a good thing. What are the key challenges for you for your growth?
Oh, parking in general is one of those companies, those industries that are not liked in the area or anywhere actually. So one of the things that we're looking for is I'd like to find some tier 3 markets, that already have parking companies in them, and look at maybe doing some purchasing, just depending on what they are, or taking over some of their operations, because it's that's probably going to be the easiest and the best way to grow the company. One of the things that I found out starting here in Springfield, that it's in a smaller market is really hard, especially when there's not that kind of service or industry in the area. So I'd like to not repeat that if I can. So I'd like to go in there and maybe purchase some other existing parking companies. But the problem is, and here's the reason why. At some point down the road, I'd like to gather the attention of like an AMCO or a Standard or some of the major players out there to be able to maybe roll me up into their company at some point down the road too.
We do events in Branson at a place that holds 200 people. Or like if I did an event at my house, would I pay for the valet parking of everybody, or would they pay when they show up?
You pay for it.
Okay.
And
how does that structure work?
What we do on that is that what I do is say, here's your fee, and here's how much it is. So it depends on how many people you have coming, and how long the event is. And then after that, it says, here's our fee. For instance, let's say it's a 5-hour event, starts at 5 p.m., goes to 10 p.m., and there's going to be 150 people there. I only need is 2 guys. For that kind of event, it's only $350. So, and then we would be there till about an hour before, the event starts, and we're there till the very last car. We also provide a very professional look. We have a valet podiums, we have signage. We usually do custom signs. So we put your event name on our signs. We direct them from the street all the way to the valet area. We could do, we could put parking lot attendants out there to help direct people, signage along the route, kind of thing. So, I mean, and then we have, our guys are there that they can dress in anything. I had one lady that she did a country wedding theme, and all the guys were in cowboy hats, vests, Wranglers, boots, stuff like that. So we can pretty much do anything like that. So
I've heard a little bit about the process, just the explanation of what you've just said. I actually live in Chicago, so valet parking's, if it's $5 here, I'll take $5 all day. So
Right.
it's $60 a day,
Right.
anywhere you go.
Right.
But the process that I didn't hear too much is the simplicity of it, because a lot of people think valet parking is a very difficult thing. Getting out in the, having someone take your car and trying to get it free. A lot of things that I've kind of discovered with valet parking is they've made it a lot simpler. Do you do some sort of you can text your company and they'll bring it right out, so you can say, hey, it'll be ready in 15 minutes comparatively to going outside and saying, hey, I need my car, and then it takes a long process?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, on certain events, say like we've done Rock and Ribs in the past, where the parking lot was over a half a mile away that we were parking the cars at. When we know it's going to take 10 to 15 minutes to get the car, we put on all our valet tickets basically a phone number on there that texts basically the valet ticket number 10 to 15 minutes before you come out, and we'll have the car sitting and ready, waiting there for you. That works on those big events, and on where the parking is a huge issue. That works really, really well. We can increase our flow. Of course, we got 8 to 10 guys on that kind of event. On other events where, like a restaurant where we're parking within maybe 100 feet, or 50 feet of it, I said it's actually easier for them just to walk out and give the key, because our response time, such as Top of the Rock, our response time is between a minute and a minute and a half. So by the time you walk out, you give our guy your valet ticket, we will have your car up in the lane within a minute and a half. And then if it's longer than that, what we do is we will the reason it would be longer than that is because we have a line of traffic one way or the other way that we're fighting against. So in that case, we will basically tell the customer and say, hey, give us 2 to 3 minutes, and say we'll have your car out. Once you go inside, we'll come and get you as soon as it's here, kind of thing. So we make it where it's very easy, and it's easy to get out. It's easy to valet. All you have to do is basically pull your car up, leave it running, put it in park, walk out and say, hey, I'd like to park my car. You get a ticket. You know, we ask for your last name, and you walk into the restaurant or into wherever you're going and sit. So you don't have to worry about it from there on. And we're insured. So.
Yeah, I was about to ask that. I know that having like a valet parking is very, carries a lot of liability. How do you do that, like stolen items or like crash cars?
I have only had 3 incidences since 2006, and 2 of them were not our fault at all. One of them was the guy got his foot caught between the brake and the gas and ran into another car. So, but you know, when that does happen, I mean, we are, you know, I get a lot of times I get people calling me and say, hey, you put a scratch in my car, and I would look at it and investigate it and I say, I'm sorry, but we didn't run it through a barbed wire fence, return your car to, you know, back to the valet podium. I said, you know, those things happen, you know, but when they're truly, we must be investigating and find out what they really are. So it's very rare. Insurance for what we do runs high. I mean, our insurance policies are between $8,000 to $12,000 a year. So for just the valet portion of it. But you got to have it.
Do you do any consulting for like schools as far as drop-off?
You know, we haven't done any school consulting, but you know, it's all the same principle. So, and then we just haven't never done anything like that before. But you know, it's really a lot of the same principle. You have your school buses, which like at the hotels, you have your shuttles, you have your people coming in and dropping off, you know, picking up, and you have your walk-ins, and then you have your parkers. So, you know, just be able to control that operation and control that flow is it's all kind of all the same, but we can definitely do that. We just never have.
On handling the improvement of technology as far as the cars, I'm assuming it's probably brought you some negatives on trying to deal with that. So it's just like the key fob matches the seat, and it's a small girl, and you got a guy that's like 6'10",
Yeah, like
and those
me.
kind of things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you guys deal with that?
We move the seats. I tell my guys, I say, okay, listen, if you can get in there and you don't have to move the seat, great. If you need to move the seat, I said, move the stinking seat. And then whenever you get back, just tell them and say, hey, we moved the seat, just so you know. So when they get in, they don't fall completely in, you know. So, but yeah, we totally move the seat. We are, number one, it's a safety thing. I mean, that's the first and foremost. So the rules that we put through our valet attendants, it's pretty rigorous. I mean, we watch them we train them, give about an hour training, and then we put them in, you know, into like us with maybe 2 or 3 other very experienced valet attendants, and then we basically just scrutinize them just on every part of what they do. A lot of them has quit during that time just because they felt like, well, it's too stressful, and you're just valet parking cars. But, you know, but a lot of them quit because they thought, well, you know, you're stressing me out and whatever. So we get rid of those kind of people, and they, you know, the calm and the people who can basically handle the stress, because it is stressful whenever you have 75 cars coming in, you know, and about 50 cars leaving at the same time, and you have to operate that. You have to be able to go get cars, return cars, you know, take cars, and those guys run. You know, that's one of the things that we teach our guys. I said, when you get in behind the wheel, you're very slow, you're very safe. When you get out of the car, you run like crazy. So, you know, that's one of the things that we train also. And you know, what we have found is that if we can, you know, get a person in there, give them about 5 or 6 hours of training with you know, real-time valet, says they stay with us for 2 or 3 years. Those guys do, and we pick out a lot of college students. And that reminds me, if you guys know of anybody that's looking for jobs, I'm hiring. So, especially for this Saturday, I have 5 events. So I have 5 events and between Branson and Springfield, and I'm at least 3 or 4 people short at this point. So,
hey, Alex.
Yep.
Right here.
Yep.
So how do you pay your people? What do you pay them? I've tipped these guys a lot. So what's appropriate?
$20 a car. No, I'm joking. That make my life easier. But but no, we pay them on an hourly rate. It's not minimum wage. It's decent. It's better than waitress wage. About $5.50 an hour is what we pay people, And then at the end of the day, they make somewhere between $12 and $15, sometimes maybe to $20 an hour. So, you know, it's well paid. We have, you know, like I said, once we get some people in there, they stay. Usually try to get them in between the sophomore and junior years of college, and they stay until they're done.
Alex, a couple months ago, you presented Metro Shine.
Yep.
Maybe for those of us that are here that don't know, could you mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, I meant to put that on that, but I forgot. So.
Hey, it's all right. And what percentage of accounts at SPC are utilizing Metro Shine?
You know, it's small because I don't offer it every place. We do a lot. We offer it in some of our valet locations, like our permanent stuff, like Flame and some of the restaurant valets. But we're getting ready to start offering hopefully at Top of the Rock. We're in talks with that to do that. And we're valeting a neighborhood of 1,000 cars a week at Top of the Rock. So we have you know, hopefully if we can get to that, we can get a 2 to 5% penetration rate. That's a pretty good amount. Right now, it's just not a whole lot that we're offering except for like Flame Restaurant. At some point down the road, you know, I'm probably going to increase that and start offering it as an auxiliary service. Especially, sometimes we do it with brides. Sometimes we offer it in our brochures. A lot of times these brides will say, well, you know what, I want my mother-in-law's, my mom's, my dad's, and, you know, maybe my brother's cars cleaned. You know, kind of as a little presents for them, you know, so when they come out and get their car is nice and clean. So we've done that kind of stuff before in the past, too. I hope that answered it.
So have you thought about going into the contracting business where, like, if a general contractor is building a building and they say, we need a parking lot, have you considered going into the business where they just call you and you not only do the layout, but you know all of the companies that can come in and do a perfect job?
We do that already a little bit, so we're not really in the business to do that because parking a lot of times is an afterthought for a lot of architects and developers. It's just like, okay, here's a piece of land, we'll just put some spaces in it. And it's trying to maybe, you know, working with those people to say, hey, let's look at, you know, utilization, because there's a lot of push now for electric cars, maybe putting, you know, plug-in stations in a parking lot, smaller compact spaces, you know, as well, motorcycle parking, you know, and maybe if you have like an office building and you want to, you know, kind of make sure that some of your employees maybe use public transportation, you can design a parking lot around that too. So you try to, maybe you have a, you know, I don't know, a 25 or 30 unit space and you only have this much parking in here. Well, how do we utilize that parking lot to maybe get people to ride the bus and stuff like that? There's all kind. I could go in for probably a long time into that.
All right. Well, in conclusion, Alex, besides some college kids that want to run around with the valet, what else can we do for you as a community?
You know, just any ideas on the marketing thing? I mean, like I said, I'm still running into the issues where people don't understand what valet parking is. I'd like to get people away from the stereotype of valet. Hollywood has not helped me in that area. You know, and I was watching the news the other day, and it's funny. This made the local news. A guy in Dubai driving a Ferrari, whatever valet attendants, ran it through like 4 or 5 other $150,000, $200,000 cars and ran it into a wall. So, you know, that kind of thing, you know, that's very rare, and it, you know, hardly ever happens. But you know, getting past that stigma, you know, that. So using maybe some ideas and some marketing ideas basically to help me, you know, to reach out to other people besides just the event venues and the, you know, the hospitals and the restaurants and stuff like that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.